What's up guys, Sylar here with One Legion TV, and I am back on the Legion beta, this time taking a look at Windwalker Monk. Now this is going to be a guide slash discussion type video, and this video should be useful to anyone who is new to Windwalker Monk, or might not understand the differences between Warlords of Draenor and Legion Monk. You might not know how to play it properly. Basically it should give you a well-rounded idea of what's going on with Windwalker Monk coming into Legion. Now this is aimed at level 110 as well, so it might not be entirely useful to you at level 100. Also keep in mind this is still the beta. We are just over a month and a half away from launch, but things can still change. So keep that in mind when watching this video, and if something's changed or nerfed or added or whatever, just kind of take the things that we spoke about in the video and think, well, this talent he says is good right now, but it's been nerfed, I guess it's not that good anymore. And this other talent he says is very good, should now be the best because it's been untouched. Just, two and two together type thing. So first of all, we're going to take a look at the Spellbook and see what's changed and what we've got right now. So we have Blackout Kick, 1 chi, does some damage, and basically the basic chi spender. It's going to be your filler chi spender spell. It no longer does the damage over time, as you can see, so it's a lot more straightforward. Monk in general, or Windwalker Monk, is a lot more straightforward to play in Legion, but it feels a lot more fun to play as well. The rotation feels like it flows a lot better, and it just feels good. So it might not be as complex, and some people who like the complex style might not like Legion Windwalker, but me myself, I'm having a lot of fun playing Windwalker right now in Legion. So yeah, Blackout Kick, basic spell now, just is your filler chi spender. Chi Burst is a talent, so we're not going to talk about that right now. Crackling Jade Lightning, basic range spell, it does a little bit of damage. It's something to do while you've got nothing to do if the boss is in the air and, you want to have some way of still doing a little bit of damage in downtime. Detox, basic dispel, removes poison and disease, 8-second cooldown, 20 energy cost. Disable, 15 energy cost, 50% move speed reduction, 15-second duration, is refreshed by melee attacks, and if they're already snared, they'll be rooted instead for 8 seconds. Fuse is the heal now. It's 30 energy cost, 1.5 second cast, and it does about 100k healing. Now right now I'm about 840 eye level, which is like Mythic Dungeon-ish, like start of Mythic Dungeons, and I'm only getting I already have 1.6 million HP. So the 100k heal isn't going to be that high. Obviously it's a bit of a cast time, it's going to use a big chunk of energy. Now you can get quite a few off before your energy goes down, and energy does regen quite quickly, so you won't be waiting that long to heal yourself again. Hybrids in general aren't meant to do crazy amounts of healing anymore. The healing's been cut off quite a bit from hybrid classes, like World of Glory's gone from Paladin, Ancestral Guidance has gone from Enhance, and things like that. So the way you heal, you can't do a crazy amount anymore as a hybrid, basically. So yeah, that is that. That's going to be one of your kind of defensive type spells. Fist of Fury is your main damaging spell. 3 chi, cooldown is reduced by haste, which is the green text, so it has a 25-second base cooldown, and it does a lot of damage. Now right now, it still needs to be used in melee range, you need to be right next to them, and it does not stun, but you can move while channeling it. There is I think it's a bug right now, it does still stun, but I don't think it's meant to. The reason behind that is there's a talent in PvP talents that makes it have a longer range and stun as well. So I feel like its stunning right now is not intended, and I'm just going to pass that off as a bug, and it should not be stunning people. So unless that changes, right now it does some damage, it does a lot of damage in AoE in front of you, can be moved, can be channeled while moving, but does not stun. Flying Serpent Kick, and you will want to use that off cooldown, it is one of the bigger damage spells that we've got. Flying Serpent Kick, pretty straightforward still, 25-second cooldown, you press it, you fly in a line, and if you press it again, you'll kind of stop, you'll do a little bit of AoE damage, and you'll also slow the enemy's hit by 70% if you actually land on them. And that is a talent, so is that. Paralysis, basic CC, 15-second cooldown, 1 minute CC, and if damage, will break it. Provoke, basic taunt, 8-second cooldown, will make them attack you. Resuscitate, your resurrect spell, 10-second cast, 35% of the max health will be restored. Rise and Sun Kick, a 10-second base cooldown, once again its cooldown scales from haste. it's going to be pretty useful. As you can see, it no longer does the damage increase. You know, it doesn't apply the debuff anymore. It does still do healing reduction, but that's about it. And once again, you're going to want to use this pretty much off cooldown too. Roll, still the same. You get 2 charges by default, 20-second recharge, and it rolls a short distance. That is a talent. Spear Hand Strike, 15-second cooldown, interrupts them and stops them from using that school for 4 seconds. So this is one of the first spells that's changed quite a bit. It's now got a chi cost, a 3 chi cost, so it's quite expensive. And the basic part, you know, it doesn't use energy anymore. It's going to do 102k damage by default to all enemies within 8 yards. Now the other bit is where it starts to change. So Spinning Crane Kick's damage is increased by 50% for each unique target you've struck in the last 15 seconds with Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, or Rising Sun Kick. So say you've got 3 enemies and you hit 1 with Tiger Palm, 1 with Blackout Kick, and 1 with Rising Sun Kick, you'll have a 150% damage increase on Spinning Crane Kick. If I was to hit the same target with Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and Rising Sun Kick, I would still only get 1 stack from that guy. So you can only get 1 stack per creature, basically. And you can hit, I could hit all 3 with Tiger Palm if I really wanted to and get the 3 stacks. So you just need to make sure you hit all 3 of them, or however many enemies, with one of your 3 spells, and you'll get a stack, which makes it do a lot more damage. And it also gets applied by your Storm Earth and Fire, which we'll talk about the changes to that in a moment, so keep that in mind too. The Storm Earth and Fire clones do apply the stacks as well. So Storm Earth and Fire has seen some change too. It has a 1.5 minute recharge, it has 2 charges by default, split into 3 elemental spirits for 15 seconds. Each spirit deals 45% damage, so all 3 of them you're going to be doing 135% damage. You directly control the Storm Spirit while the Earth and Fire mimic your attacks on nearby enemies. While active, casting Storm Earth and Fire again will cause the spirits to fixate on your target. So that means it can be now used as a single target or an AoE cooldown. It lasts for a good amount of time, so you can use it on a boss and get like a lot of extra damage. You know, you're going to be doing 35% extra damage. Or you could use it on AoE for like burst, AoE on trash or something. So it has a lot more use. I definitely like the new version, instead of tabbing between mobs and, you know, throwing your clone on those certain mobs. The only downside is obviously it has quite a long cooldown, so you don't have as much access to it as you would previously. Strike of the Windlord is the artifact spell. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But 2 chi, 40-second cooldown, does 450k damage in front of you and also reduces their movement speed by 50%. So this once again is going to be something you want to use off cooldown pretty much. Tiger Palm has seen quite a bit of change as well. Basically, Jab has been merged into Tiger Palm. Tiger Palm now costs energy, and I think it's the only spell you have that costs energy that does damage. 50 energy, so quite a big cost, generates 2 chi, does a little bit of damage, and also has an 8% chance to make your Blackout Kick cost no chi. So yeah, you're basically just going to use this to generate chi. I prefer it like this because Jab felt weird to me. It did like no damage. It was literally only there to generate chi. Also, you'll notice the armor pen has been removed from Tiger Palm as well. So all those little buffs and debuffs that you had to manage before are pretty much gone. Touch of Death has been reworked as well. It's pretty much the same thing. 2-minute cooldown allows you to basically do your HP in damage, but previously you would need to do it when the mob had less health left than you have total. So say, you know, I have 1.6 million, once the mob hit 1.5 million, I could Touch of Death it and instantly kill it. Now you can use it regardless of its HP, so if I have 1.6 million and the boss has 100 million, I can still use Touch of Death right at the start of a fight. So it's basically now a burst cooldown. After 8 seconds, it'll do your max health, and it does less versus players. So you can use this at the start of a fight. It'll do, you know, a big burst of damage, and yeah, it's nice. So it means you can use it more than once in a fight now. You can get like 2 or 3 off in a fight, which adds to damage, and it adds to burst as well. So that is very welcome. Touch of Karma, pretty much the same, 1.5 minute cooldown. All damage you take is redirected to the enemy target as nature damage over 6 seconds. Damage cannot exceed 50% of your maximum health. So you can use this as a defensive, or you could use it to get a little bit more damage out, depending on how you make use of the spell. Transcendence, pretty much the same as it is on live. I'm not going to go into detail on that. You put it down, and then you can use transfer to swap with your clone. And then Zen Pilgrimage lets you come to the class order hall. So the free passive, we have Afterlife. This is actually really useful. When you kill an enemy, you get a healing sphere for 300k. So it allows you to do very big pulls. So it's great for solo play or for leveling. You know, you can go out, you can pull a big pack of mobs that you need for a world quest or whatever, stun them with like AoE stun and AoE them all down. And as long as you kill one of them before you die, then you're going to get a big heal, and then you kind of chain off those big heals. So it's kind of like a victory rush type thing, but you don't have to, you know, use a GCD on it basically. So it's really useful. It's surprising how much it's come into use. It's also saved me a couple of times in mythic dungeons too. I'll get like a kill on a mob, pick up the sphere, and I'll live. Mastery has been changed as well, because you probably noticed Tiger Eye Brew is gone. So the mastery has been reworked to combo strike. Your abilities deal 32% more damage when they are not a repeat of the previous ability. So say for example I did Tiger Palm and then Blackout Kick. My Blackout Kick would have 32% more damage. If I was to do Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and then Blackout Kick, my first Blackout Kick would have 32% more damage, but my second one wouldn't. So you've just got to make sure you don't use the same ability twice in a row. If I was to do Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, that would be fine. I would get the 32% damage on the Blackout Kick, the Tiger Palm, and then the Blackout Kick. So yeah, just make sure you don't use the same ability twice. It's basically a flat damage increase. It's very nice. And then Windwalking is kind of the utility spell that Windwalker brings to raids. Give 10% movement speed in 10 yards. Only complaint I have with this is the yard radius is quite small. And when you have other classes bring in things like Stormlash and Bloodlust and things, and then Windwalkers only bring in a move speed increase in a very short radius, I think the move speed increase could be a little bit bigger in terms of the radius it does. And then I think that would be fine. But either way, you know, it's whatever. Utility spells have been taken off DPS for the most part. They have 1, maybe 2 each. So it isn't that big of a concern anymore. So that is the Spellbook. So quite a bit's changed. Things are a lot more simpler now, but I think they're simpler for a good reason. I think the class is going to be a lot more played, and I think it'll be a lot more fun for most people to play. And it's not as like, not gimmicky, but you know, you don't need this weird setup for your burst. You can actually burst during Bloodlust reliably, and you know, you can save your burst for specific times and stuff. It just feels better. So that is where we're at right now. Next, we're going to take a look at the artifact weapon. So your artifact weapon is something you'll get at level 100, and it will stay with you throughout the whole expansion. You're going to build it up in terms of eye level and also artifact power, and you also get an extra spell from it, which is the Strike of the Windlord. So this is how it's going to look. You can choose which path you want to go. You could either go left or right, or you could kind of go left and then go right. It's up to you. I would recommend going right, just because some of the better skills, so basically what we want to aim for are these golden skills or traits, as those are the ones that give you the most damage. So the first one is Cross Winds, which is going to make our Fist of Fury summon wind spirits that will attack your Fist of Fury target, dealing 185k additional damage. That is a lot of additional damage. It's doing about 5% of my overall damage, so you're getting a lot from Cross Winds. So it's very good. And then the next one we have Tiger Claws, and then we have this Transfer of Power, which once again is buffing Fist of Fury. It makes it so every time you do Blackout Kick, Russian Jade Wind, or Rising Sun Kick, it'll increase the damage of your next Fist of Fury by 5%, up to 10 times. Now you're not going to want to wait until you get 10 stacks, you're going to still want to use Fist of Fury off cooldown, but it's going to give you a little bit of extra damage, so it's definitely welcome. Not even a little, quite a lot. So already this side is looking very good. And then this is going to give us a 15% damage, additional damage on Rising Sun Kick, so that's quite nice. And then the final golden trait is Gale Burst. Increased damage done by Touch of Death by 15% of all damage you dealt to the target during that duration. So Touch of Death lasts for 8 seconds before it procs, so you'd have 8 seconds to do as much damage as possible, which means these two talents are basically amplifying the damage that you can get in that 8 seconds. So Gale Burst basically is a better talent the more damage you can do, while these two are just better in general. And obviously you're not going to have as much access to Gale Burst, it's every 2 minutes, while crosswinds and tornado kicks are going to be accessible every like 25 or less seconds. So yeah, you're just going to get more use out of this side of the tree. So I'd recommend going round this way. And then when you get to here, I wouldn't take these two talents. I'd actually go back and pick up the Rising Winds, because these two aren't going to do any kind of damage increase for you. So these three talents are the ones you're going to pick up last, and then you're going to go around this way and kind of pick up this, and then come back and pick up this. And then finally, relics are something that increase your eye level of your weapon to keep it relevant throughout the expansion. You unlock your third relic a little bit later on into the max level content, and that's going to be a big eye level increase. And each relic also increases the rank of one of your traits by 1. So say for example this, and right now it gives me 10% damage on spinning crane kick. If I had an extra rank, it might give me 14%. So it's quite nice, but you're not going to want to sacrifice too much eye level for one of those perks. So say you have one relic that gives you 30 eye level and one that gives you 35. You're going to probably want to go for the 35 relic regardless, just because 5 eye level is quite a lot on a weapon, and it would have to be a very, very, very good trait to pass up 5 eye level. So keep that in mind. Eye level generally will trump most of these traits that you can get. So that is the artifact weapon in a quick nutshell. So that out of the way, let's take a look at talents. We're not going to take a look at PvP talents just because they're only for PvP, while these talents are for both PvP and PvE. So level 15 hasn't changed too much. Chi Burst, basically the same thing. You fire a ball forward, it's going to do AoE damage, and it's going to also AoE heal anything it hits. So quite nice for those AoE situations in like dungeons and stuff. Eye of the Tiger is new. When you Tiger Palm, you're going to get a little bit of damage over time, and it's also going to heal you as well. And then Chi Wave, a 15-second cooldown, and it's going to do healing and damage bouncing between the targets 7 times. So Chi Wave is better single target damage. Eye of the Tiger is nice because you don't have to use a GCD on it, but Chi Wave is still going to be better for single target. And then Chi Burst is going to be more optimal for AoE. In terms of level 30, we have Chi Torpedo, which no longer does damage, but pretty much does the same thing. It's going to throw you a quite large distance forward, and it's going to give you some movement speed as well. Tiger's Lust is the more kind of go-to talent, just because you still have roll, and you're going to have a 70% move speed as well that you could also give to allies. So you could either use it on yourself, get 70% move speed, and still have 2 charges of roll. And then Celerity, it's probably butchered, gives you an additional charge on roll, and you also get a 5-second reduced cooldown on it as well. So the extra charge of roll is quite nice, but overall Tiger's Lust is probably going to be the more used talent. Level 45, we have Energizing Elixir, pretty much the same, and this is what you're going to go for most of the time. Just having access to more energy and chi on demand is always very, very nice. And energy regen is quite nice when you go for haste, so you shouldn't really need Ascension. Now I'm using Ascension right now because I have a horrible amount of haste. I have 3%. I've been really, really unlucky with the pieces of gear I've gotten. So I've gone for Ascension just to make the energy regen feel a little bit nicer. But in general, once I get a little bit more haste, I think haste and mastery will be the go-to stats. We'll talk about that in a moment anyway. So yeah, normally energizing elixir will be the more favorable talent, but I'm just using Ascension right now to help with the lack of energy. And then Power Strikes just isn't, it's just not good enough. Every 15 seconds you get 1 additional chi. Level 60, Ring of Peace. Enemies in the ring that use a harmful spell will be knocked out of the ring, 45-second cooldown. Dizzying Kicks, Blackout Kick will also reduce the target's movement speed by 70%. And Leg Sweep and AoE Stun. AoE Stun is going to be so much more useful in 90% situations. So level 75, Healing Elixir has changed a little bit. It's now an on-use instead of a passive. It also has a passive aspect to it though. So you can use it, it has 2 charges, 30-second recharge, and it will heal you for 15% of your health. If you drop below 35%, it will automatically proc if you have a charge available. So this is nice in general, just because, you know, if you know you're going to take big damage, you can top yourself up. Or if you've been taken low, you could bop 2 charges and get 30% health back. Or you could just be using it every like 30 seconds or 15 seconds, whatever. to keep yourself healthy, basically. So yeah, it's nice. Diffuse magic, reduce magic damage taken by 60% and transfers all currently active harmful magic effects back to the original caster if possible. So that's going to be nice on, you know, versus magic dealers and in magic fights when there's like an AoE or a magic damage that you're going to take, you can reduce that by 60%. So yeah, on in magic fights, that's definitely still going to be good. And then dampen harm, reduce all damage you take by 30% for the next 3 attacks. So this is going to be nice for, you know, the random, just normal damage that is going to come every once in a while. But for the most part, you'll probably use healing elixir. And then if there's a specific fight where you can make use of diffuse magic or dampen harm a little bit more, then you're going to take those two. So the level 90 tier, this is where things start getting a little bit more interesting. So Russian Jade Wind has changed. First of all, you'll notice that it does not replace Spinning Crane Kick anymore. It is its own spell. It costs 1 chi, its cooldown scales with haste, and it does 125k damage over 5.8 seconds, 6 seconds. That is more damage than Blackout Kick. So it's very, very strong. It's good single target damage. It's great cleave damage and amazing AoE damage. So very, very, very nice talent right now. Unless they nerf it, it's pretty much just usable in 90% of situations. Zuen, still very good for burst fights, either single target or AoE burst. Things that last for like a minute and a half, Zuen's going to be the better talent to take, but you've got to keep in mind trash and things beforehand. Like if you're in a mythic dungeon, you wouldn't want to take Zuen for bosses, just because killing the trash quick is very, very important too. So yeah, Zuen's going to see limited use. It's probably going to be the least used talent out of the tier, but it's still good for those burst reliant fights or whatever. And then hit combo, each successive attack that triggers your combo strikes, which is the mastery we talked about earlier, in a row grants 1% increased damage stacking to 10 times. So you can get 10% increased damage. This is nice on sustained single target fights that's going to have no AoE or cleave, and you just get to sit there and keep the 10% rolling. That's going to be nice. So yeah, hit combo will probably see some use, although Russian Jade Wind is going to be the more favourable talent, at least right now, unless they nerf it or buff the other two. Level 100, we have Chi Orbit. Every 5 seconds, an orb of energy forms and rotates around you until it impacts an enemy, dealing 70k damage to all enemies within no yards, whatever. Basically on top of wherever the enemy is. Max of 4 orbs. So at the start of a fight, you're going to be getting 280k damage just straight off the bat from your passive or from your level 100 talent. That's a lot of damage, and then every 5 seconds you're going to get an additional 70k damage, and that's AoE as well. It kind of splashes around it, and you don't have to do anything for it. It's very nice also if the boss, you know, has a transition phase or whatever. You're still going to be getting some form of damage out because your Chi Orbs are going to respawn, and then by the time the boss comes back, you've got maybe 2, 3, 4 Chi Orbs ready to go, which is going to give you another burst of damage. So Chi Orbit is very, very good right now. It does a lot of damage, and you just don't have to do anything for it. Whirling Dragon Punch, cooldown scales off haste. Now, one thing to note about Chi Orbit is your clones from Storm, Earth and Fire will not summon Chi Orbits themselves. So you're not going to get 3 sets of Chi Orbits. So that's one thing to take note of. Whirling Dragon Punch, cooldown scales off haste. Perform a devastating whirling upward strike, dealing 250k damage to all enemies nearby, and only usable while Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick are on cooldown. So you'll probably notice that it's not as good as Chi Orbit. 2 reasons. First of all, it uses a GCD. It has quite a hefty cooldown, and you need to have Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick off cooldown before you can use it. Now, it doesn't have any cost, which is nice, like it doesn't have a chi or energy cost, but you still need these weird requirements to actually use it, and it has quite a long cooldown for 250k damage. Chi Orbit, straight off the bat, without me doing anything, is going to do 280k damage, and then the orbs are just going to keep spawning and doing damage without any GCDs. So based off that, Chi Orbit is very, very, very nice in comparison to Whirling Dragon Punch. Now, Whirling Dragon Punch could be better in 2 or 3 situations. One, where you get a lot more haste, where the cooldown is significantly lower. 2, where your Storm, Earth and Fire damage is more important than anything else, because your clones will do Whirl and Dragon Punch as well, giving you a lot of damage. And 3, they buff it or they nerf cheat a bit. And those are the only 3 situations where I'd see Whirl and Dragon Punch pulling ahead and being the better talent to take. Outside of that, Cheobit's just too good right now. And then Serenity replaces Storm, Earth and Fire and has no charges. So if we were to take Serenity, we'd only have 1 charge of Serenity, and it only lasts for 10 seconds. It does increase our damage by 40%, while Storm, Earth and Fire only gives us 35%. But you are going to get an extra 20 seconds total from Storm, Earth and Fire if you were to chain them, one after another. It also does make your chi consumers all free and have a 50% reduced cooldown. So you are going to get quite a nice little bit of burst damage from Serenity, but you're not going to have as much access to it as you would Storm, Earth and Fire. It just doesn't feel worth it. I'd rather right now have 2 charges of Storm, Earth and Fire and Chi Orbit. If this had 2 charges or it didn't replace Storm, Earth and Fire, then I think Serenity would be probably the best talent. But right now I think Chi Orbit is still the talent to go for. It's just too good, you don't have to use anything to do damage. So that is a look at the talents. Let's quickly take a look at stats. Crit is, is still useful, but I don't think it's going to be the stat you want to go for. Unfortunately, I've got a crap ton of crit from my gear, but it's not really what I want. I think Mastery and Haste are going to be the 2 stats that you go for. I'm not too sure whether you're going to go for Haste first of all, get a soft cap and then focus on Mastery, or if you're just going to focus on Mastery and then Haste as a secondary stat, or like a second secondary stat. The reason Mastery is because it just gives us flat damage increase with the Mastery, like you just basically get free damage. And the Haste not only reduces the cooldown of some of our major spells, but it's going to give you the energy regen and also faster autos. So Haste is very, very nice too. And then Crit and Versatility are nice, they're useful, but they're just not as useful as Haste and Mastery. So that is where I think we'll be going for in terms of stats. And then the final thing to talk about is kind of like rotation and how you're going to play the class. So in terms of single target, it's going to be very priority based. You're not going to have to react to anything really. It's just going to be a list of, is this up? Okay, this isn't up. Okay, is this up? Okay, this isn't up. Okay, this is up, so I'm going to use this. And you'll follow that list, basically. A priority list. So in terms of cooldowns, you're going to want to use Touch of Death pretty much off the bat, unless there's a specific reason for you to save it, which I don't see there being. But it might be a kind of fight where like an ad spawns that needs killing instantly and you can make use of Touch of Death there. But in general, you'll use Touch of Death very early on. Get that off during Bloodlust. You'll use both of your Storm, Earth and Fires during Bloodlust as well, just because you're going to get more damage out of it rather than waiting on the second one for your cooldowns to come back. You're just going to get more use from them during the Lust. So unless, once again, there's a specific reason for you to save them, maybe a minute into the fight, a ad spawns that you need to kill. Then, second Storm Earth or big AoE, and then second Storm Earth and Fire could be worth saving for then. But if it's just a straight up kill the boss type fight, then using both of your Storm Earth and Fires right off during Bloodlust is going to give you more damage. So that is kind of the cooldowns. And then outside of that, you want to prioritize keeping Fist of Fury on cooldown. That is the most damaging spell, so top priority is Fist of Fury. And then next priority is Strike of the Windlord. And then third priority is actually going to be keeping up Rush and Jade Wind, just because it does a lot of damage. And, it's one chi, it's very, very easy to keep up. And I'd also recommend trying to weave in a Rush and Jade Wind just before your Fist of Fury. The reason behind that is Rush and Jade Wind will last for about the same duration as a channeled Fist of Fury. So you're going to be getting, the damage from both of them going at the same time. But don't go out of your way, like if you've got 3 chi and, it's going to mess up the rotation or something, don't bother with the Rush and Jade Wind. But if you have 4 chi or more and you're able to quickly put down a Rush and Jade Wind and then Fist of Fury, I would recommend that. Next on priority would be Rising Sun Kick, and then Chi Wave if you're using that on single target. And then finally Blackout Kick. Blackout Kick unfortunately is the most useless spell for Windwalker right now. It's just a filler spell. Like when you've literally got nothing else to do, then you'll go for Blackout Kick. And I apologize, the birds are going crazy outside. I'm not too sure if you can hear them. So that is how the rotation is going to look single target. It's going to be very priority based. In terms of AoE, it's going to be very similar. You're going to prioritize Fist of Fury just because it does AoE damage. You know, you're going to get yourself in a good position where you're able to hit, like, you know, both targets. You know, if there's one here and one here, then you're going to stand kind of to the side of them so you get both of them. Strike of the Windlord, very similar. It's going to do like a frontal cone of damage. So you want to make sure you're going to hit both of them with it, or whatever amount of enemies there are. And then Russian Jade Wind is still going to be your third priority because it does good single target, it does great cleave and amazing AoE damage for the cost. And then third on the list is going to be Spinning Crane Kick. Now I'm not too sure if Spinning Crane Kick is worth using on 2 or 3 mobs. 3 mobs 100%, 3 or more mobs definitely start weaving Spinning Crane Kick into your rotation. 2 mobs I'm not 100% sure. The sims that I've done are coming out to Spinning Crane Kick pulling slightly ahead of Rising Sun Kick. So for now I'm going to say yeah, but I could be wrong on that. I think maybe, for now, 3 mobs definitely 100% worth using Spinning Crane Kick. 2 mobs not too sure on. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, 3 or more, definitely start putting Spinning Crane Kick into your rotation. And as I said, you can use Storm Wave and Fire Up, get out your clones. Use a Tiger Palm, you'll instantly have 3 stacks of the Spinning Crane Kick buff. So yeah, that is how things are going to look. And we'll quickly do a little bit of single target here, just so you can kind of see how it'll feel and how it'll kind of look. So we're going to open up. We're not going to get stuck on terrain. We're going to open up. Going to get our clones on the go and make sure they're actually attacking the right thing. So there, I probably should have done a Blackout Kick when I had the 2 Chi. I'm also not using Chi Wave either, but you know, it's still weaving a Chi Blast instead. As you can see, so I do have Fist of Fury up again, so it's a lot harder when you're talking while doing it as well. But yeah, that's the general idea. You know, keeping Fist of Fury off cooldown. You're trying to keep the Russian Jade Wind up, using Strike of the Windlord off cooldown too, and yeah. It feels really good. Right now, obviously, I have an absolute horrible amount of haste. Hopefully if you're playing, you don't have such little haste than I do, because 3% is garbage. But with a decent amount of haste, the rotation flows a lot better, because you're not really having energy issues like I am right now. But yeah, that is a look at Windwalker Monk. So hopefully this video has helped you out, and helps you out going into Legion. Thanks for watching, look out for more videos on One Legion TV coming very soon. See ya!